Instead of just tweeting about it, I wanted a tool that basically you can put your money where your mouth is. And that's the whole idea of user-generated prediction market. If you want to frame it the right way, it's actually a conviction market because you have a conviction, you're willing to put money behind.
The vast majority of crypto Twitter influencers would go pretty broke if they had to put money behind.
I agree. This is, we call it the crowd feed. So it looks like Twitter, you can even like the post and comment and whatever. So, but every single post is basically a market.
Owner and me, we've had a bet going on for a couple of months now where Owner was betting that BTCD will make new lows below the 2021 lows of. Good morning and welcome to probably the latest episode of Odyssey in the year of 2025. Today we are joined by Ali, who is the founder of XO-Markets. Thanks a lot for joining, Ali. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Max. I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much. What about yourself?
Doing good, cannot complain, even though I think we've all lost track of what day of the week it is by now. But maybe to start diving in, can you give us a brief background about yourself? How did you get into crypto and what ultimately led you to start building XO-Markets?
Yeah, for sure, man. So, I mean, I come from a computer science background. I focus on distributed computing during my studies. I went into crypto early around 2013, but I was really focused just on mining. So from 2013 until 2015, 16, I was just trying to mine Bitcoin. I kind of failed on mining Bitcoin. I didn't have like strong enough of equipment, so I switched to Doge. I was mining Doge with a community here also in Switzerland who were mining Doge as a joke, but that turned out to be a serious joke. We really enjoyed Elon tweeting about Doge at some point and boosted the value of Doge. But yeah, basically, during my studies, I helped a lot of projects write their white papers. I was very interested in Ethereum when it started on, build some quirky products. Like I built the first whistleblowing platform in Ethereum where whistleblowers can go and leak documents on chain and get rewarded by journalists. So that product kind of took off. A lot of people heard about it. And I just, from that moment on, I just enjoyed like to build stuff on chain. And the way I started XO-Market, I was actually a heavy prediction market user. So from the days of Augur until Augur started dying because of gas fees on Ethereum, I went to Polymarket. I was using Polymarket heavily. And then one day I got rugged on Polymarket in an unfair way. So basically there was this market about the mineral deal between the US and Ukraine. It never happened. But so I was betting no. But back then the price of no was almost like 96%. So I was like guaranteed money, easy money. And then, one whale of UMA went and resolved the market to yes. Because he had so much UMA tokens, he was able to flip the vote and the market closed on yes. And everybody was like extremely angry and social media. And I thought, Polymarket will die after this. I was like, it's such a scandal of such a big scale. Of course, they didn't die.
Was that back in 2023 before Polymarket grew to the size it is right now? Or was that? I remember a few scandals. I think there was the Zelensky suit thing, whether he wore a suit or not. I think that was a big one. And like one or two other ones.
That was before Zelensky, actually. Yeah, that was around mid of 2024. Polymarket was still like not so noisy on social media, but Suit one took a lot of noise, but I wouldn't blame Polymarket for it. It was more like of a subjective view. Do you see it as a suit or not? Some media say it's a suit. Some people say it's not a suit. It became a big controversial topic, but it was not a corruption by the Oracle, so to say. The other one that I was mentioning, it was an actual corruption by the Oracle, meaning the event didn't happen and the coupled whales were able to resolve it how they want to. And yeah, Polymarket could do nothing about it because the resolution is in the hands of UMA. So yeah, I was pissed. So I decided to kind of design a new Oracle system. I was like, okay, you know what? Like why coupled whales can control the whole thing? We have now AI can basically unbiased opinion, they can resolve markets. So I built like an architecture of an Oracle, started showing it around, tweeted about it, got interest from a lot of smart people. So that's how ExoMarkets started. It actually started from the Oracle side. I wanted to build an Oracle that can resolve markets very quickly within like 1 minute, 2 minutes, rather than waiting for days and still being attacked. So yeah, joined the hackathon with my co-founder Walid, and we built the Oracle. But then we're like, okay, what is the best use case for an Oracle? You need a market, right? You need somebody to use it. So that's why we built XO-Market. And the best utilization of such a fast and fair Oracle is user-generated markets. So I wanted to bring back the days from Augur where anybody could create their own market. On Polymarket, you can only suggest on Discord, but you don't get any credits, you don't get any money. So like, yeah, I wanted to bring back user-generated markets. And yeah, we launched the product. People love it and we're happy. So it works.
So we'll probably dive a little deeper into the whole Oracle question and how you do settlement, particularly because many of your markets are, when I took a glance at the markets that are currently live, centered around like cultural events and more like, things you have a personal conviction on, but where I think it would be of less interest for large media outlets to serve as an input into an oracle, or I generally think it could be challenging to settle these and to determine the truth of these markets with a very high degree of certainty. So I think that will be a good topic down the stream. But for now, maybe can you walk us through the differences between conviction markets and prediction markets? Because when I read through your guys' docs, it seems like you put a lot of emphasis of not branding yourself a prediction market, but as a conviction market instead.
That is true. We do frame it as a conviction market. The main difference comes from the idea that a prediction market like Polymarket or Kalshi, you go there and you're trying to trade on like high caliber events, right? Like elections, big sports events, and like how many tweets Trump will tweet or Elon whatnot. Like they are like fixed kind of events, repetitive. It's always about a political market or like a really high interest sports market. Now, when we talk about user-generated markets, the idea is if I want to make a bet with somebody, like, I bet you that something will happen. Instead of just tweeting about it, I wanted a tool that basically you can put your money where your mouth is. And that's the whole idea of user-generated prediction market. But if you want to frame it like the right way, it's actually a conviction market because you have a conviction, you're willing to put money behind it, and you're willing to post it to the world and say, if you don't believe me, go trade against me. I just put $1,000 on yes. Go put your money on no and win my $1,000 if I'm wrong. So that was the idea why we framed it as a conviction market, because purely is anybody can create that market, anybody could put money behind a specific option. So you don't have to, like Polymarket, when they start a market, they have to provide liquidity on all sides, right? With ExoMarket, once you create a market, you can rebalance. You can say, I want to swap all my no shares to yes shares because like I'm so convinced with yes, I don't care. So I'm willing to lose money as a market creator if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it's a big difference between even the customers that you target, right? Like in Polymarket or Kalshi, you have these analysts who are trying to squeeze and skim the smallest percentage for different events. With us, it's much more like, casual people who want to have fun and they're trying to create attention on a specific topic, or like a KOL or an influencer who want to prove that he means what he says or she, and they can just create a market out of it.
I think the vast majority of crypto Twitter influencers would go pretty broke if they had to put money behind
I
what they're
agree.
saying.
I agree.
For
We tried it.
as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, it's mostly clickbaits, right? But that's how you can filter clickbaits. Like if somebody would make a clickbait, I would go and create a market for them and reply with a market and say, okay, you actually believe it, go trade on it. Go put your money there. Most probably they won't.
So since you kind of started out this whole journey by being rugged by Polymarket, addressing the Oracle issue, now you focus a little more on the, let's say, niche market, longer tail markets of things versus Polymarket and at Kalshi. Can you dive a little deeper into how the mechanisms of XO-Markets work? Like how are markets actually priced? I would imagine that for long tail markets, it is even more difficult to find anybody to provide liquidity. So how does the liquidity provision work? Is there any incentivization for people to provide liquidity? So is it kind of like Uniswap but for conviction markets? And yeah, any other mechanism you consider worth explaining?
Definitely. I mean, that was the biggest challenge when we wanted to build a user-generated market. Is like, how do you bootstrap liquidity? And especially with the existing infrastructure that we found out, like, you have order books or you have an AMM, a normal CP AMM, which means whatever liquidity you provide initially is the maximum the market can grow to, basically. Unless you have market makers or liquidity providers that are adding liquidity on all the sides of the market. If it's binary, it's two. If it's more, then they have to add equal liquidity to all the outcomes. However, there was like a really interesting AMM called LMSR Ogre was using. And the beauty about this model, that's unbounded AMM, which means you can start the market with as much liquidity as you want, and it can grow naturally with people getting interested in it. So every time somebody would trade on a specific outcome, like yes outcome or no outcome, they're basically minting yes tokens or no tokens. So the market is not really, the initial liquidity doesn't matter that much, because as long as people are interested in it, more and more liquidity is being added up without any liquidity providers. So there was this research called LSLMSR, liquidity sensitive logarithmic market scoring rule, which is like a really mouthful. But basically, yeah, it's this kind of unique AMM that is liquidity sensitive, which means you could literally start a market with $1. Now, when we started ExoMarket, we were thinking like, we're going to make it like $1. You can start a market with $1. However, the challenge that we noticed quickly that people don't care about $1. They would create a gibberish market, or like, they would write anything in the market. And we saw like some competitors who tried that, and we're like, okay, you know what? How can we have a good user experience while you have a user generated market? So we increased the minimum. So now currently the minimum is $500 to start a market. And we thought, we will get very, very few markets, but at least high quality. If anything, we actually got more markets, and we started having more users creating markets with $500. But we could see the difference in quality right away. Like people care about $500 much more than they care about $1. And yeah, they started making markets. Now, initially, we still see kind of similar markets, what you see on Polymarket, but slowly things are now shifting. People start to realize this is like a great way of marketing as well. Like QuickSwap, just 2 hours ago, they created a second market on XO. So they joined XO Market with their official Twitter, and they just posted a second market about their TVL, because now they see the utility they can get out of XO Market.
Can you walk us through the platform and maybe also comment on one or the other market that you currently find interesting or that you've personally traded?
Yeah, definitely. Let me share my screen and let me know if that works actually. So do you see my screen, Max?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. So yeah, this is basically XO Market. So you have two views for the markets. You can have the markets view where you can see all the markets, similar to how other prediction markets. But my favorite view is this one. This is, we call it the crowd feed. So it looks like Twitter. You can even like the post and you can comment and you can do whatever. So, but every single post is basically a market, right? So, for example, Bitcoin will surpass its all-time high. I think it's too late for that. That's where you see the conviction is very low. It's 4%, but it is an interesting market nevertheless because it got a lot of traction. It's now at 5 million. But yeah, you can see is like the chances of this happening now is pretty much 4%
So
for
just to put the word conviction in the right context. So basically you put up a hypothesis with a market, and
exactly.
if the yes share, so that this hypothesis should be validated probabilistically in a high likelihood, then there's high conviction. And if the no is winning, then we would say that it's a low conviction thesis, right?
Exactly. So that you see that basically it's not a question, right? It's a statement. So that's how we encourage people to do it. It doesn't mean that everybody would do that. Like some people will still write it as a mark, as a question. For example, this, you see there's a question mark. But most of the markets that you will find here, they will be like basically a statement. Because that's how we educated the people as well on the idea of like, like, okay, this market is about slop to leave Liverpool by the end of 2025. It's not asking a question, will it or will this happen or not? It's just giving you a statement basically. Yeah, there is actually, this is a really funny market, I have to say.
Yeah, I saw that when I went over the website to prepare for the pod.
Yeah, it's like, will there be a baby born in Zook? I live actually in Zook, and this one guy, he's from our community, and he's a really heavy user of ExoMarkets. I think he made it to, like, make a joke or take a piss at me. And if the name will have in their name, and their source of resolution is actually the Zug Hospital, which is literally next door for me, the baby gallery. And like, yeah, so based on the first baby name, if they will have in their name X or O, this market will resolve to yes. Currently, surprisingly, the chances are now currently 68%.
That
And I
feels
think it's
a
because
little
of
high because I looked at that market too, and I thought like, I mean, X is basically not used at all in any in any like normal name, maybe except for Alexander,
exactly.
in Switzerland, and or like Max, but O is a little more commonly used. I don't think that there are any names that would use both letters, but I mean, a 60% chance for either one. Um, for the first baby born. I don't know.
I think it's quite high. Like, I basically, this is the user. Let me go to his, let me show you his X account. He made like a whole analysis about it, about the chances of O and the chances of X. I hope I can find the post quickly because he does post a lot. Um, Let me see. Basically, he took, yeah, here. So here, this is when he posted about his market, and he was like doing an analysis about which names will apply or whatnot. And you see Nino, Tilo, Daniel, Nino, like Gio, Leonardo. There's a lot of O.
Hmm.
So, and he highlighted the potential, basically yes and no, and that's how people are like basically basing their trades on. It is funny. I think it should be like more or less 50-50. But if the people believe it's gonna happen, it is most probably is gonna be true. That's the intelligence of the mass, right?
Hmm.
That's how prediction markets are much more accurate than polls.
So are you currently in beta with the platform, or is that already 100% real money being traded?
I mean, this is real money, but it is still in beta mode, so we don't have the fully fledged Oracle. So the Oracle has two layers. It has the AI resolver, but it also has the human backup where people vote if there is an appeal or dispute on a specific market. Luckily, we have zero disputes so far since we launched. We've been live for like around 40 days. We have more than 300 markets. None of them were ever disputed. AI is really, really powerful and able to resolve markets accurately. So we luckily we didn't have an issue. One market has been a little bit controversial, which is this market. This is about how many days will Cloudflare be down in 2025. As you know, that there was one incident, and there was a second incident. However, in the rules, it says that it has to be more than 4,000 reports. So the threshold is 4,000 reports
Hmm.
for a day to be considered like Cloudflare is down. And on that day, it was just a little bit less than 4,000. So it didn't count. So that one made some controversial. You see the comments, people are fighting in the comments a little bit. But yeah, when we run the Oracle on it, it says as of today, it's still 1 day because the threshold was just not crossed. I would say that's the only controversial market that we have so far. And luckily, yeah, in the end, people are obviously like trading based on what the Oracle is suggesting, which is 1 day. We have only 1 day left for this. So if Cloudflare tomorrow goes down, you will see a switch in the price right away. But obviously the chances for it to be is very low. And that was the only prediction market out there that has anything about Cloudflare. So that's the beauty of user generated markets, right? Whenever something happened in like, a few minutes, you will find it on XO. Compared to like Polymarket, they take time. Like we have this market about Stranger Things, and I posted about this on X. So somebody made this market. It even didn't get that much volume. I would say like it's only $4,000 of volume about the death pool, like who will die in the last episode of Stranger Things. And he made a really kind of like detailed rules about how the death counts. If it's a flashback, it doesn't count, and blah blah blah. And then Polymarket, after a few days, they launched a really similar market with very similar rules, like
Hmm.
the ones this guy created. And he was going crazy. He was like, "What the fuck? Polymarket is copying me."
Yeah, I recently saw a job advertisement from Polymarket for like explicitly to be a market creator. And I mean, in the job description, a significant part was also to just like research what like topics of discussions or everything that is hot on competitors, obviously. Like that is something that every prediction market will take into account. On the note of everybody being able to spin up a market, have there been issues similar to what we've seen with meme coins throughout this year, where there's basically like one market or like one discussion topic that gets reflected in very similar but several markets where they kind of become redundant? Has that been an issue so far?
No. So we have the oracle that resolve markets is also the oracle that helps you to create markets. And if your market is a duplicate, automatically it gets rejected. So it tells you that this is a duplicate market and you cannot create it. Unless you change the context just enough. For example, you have a market about Real Madrid versus Barcelona. If the first market was about winning, the second market could be about like how many yellow cards will happen, blah, blah, blah. So as long as you switch the context enough for Modra to give you a confidence score of higher than 75%, your market will go live. But if it's too similar to an existing market, yeah, it will not pass Modra, which is our oracle scheme. But yeah, it's that. Maybe I can show you quickly like how can we create a market. So you can go to create a conviction, and here you can say what's your idea about the market. Whatever idea it is. Like let's say I don't know. From will say Happy New Year on X, and then you click generate conviction. So meanwhile, it's creating a market for you, but it's also checking if there is a duplicate market that is similar to the same concept. If there's no duplicate market, you get back kind of a fully fledged market that's ready to go, and you can just seed it and goes live basically.
Yeah, I think we should start to integrate that into our Odyssey roundtable episodes
I would
because
love that.
it incentivizes all of us to be more specific with our thesis and to also put some conviction behind it. I remember that Owner and me, we've had a bet going on for a couple of months now where Owner was betting that BTCD will make new lows below the 2021 lows of, I think it was around 40% until the end of Q1 2026. And I was betting against that. I mean, right now it's kind of in my favor, but I mean, we still have 3 months to go. But yeah, it would be great to have this as an actual market to bet on during our streams.
Awesome. Honestly, push it on XO, and I will also add more liquidity to it. I would love to have that market as well on XO. So yeah, basically, this is you see right away a market is created with a proper title, with even like you can read the full rules with the source of truth, and you can even upload an image, or you can say I want to use AI, and it generates a shitty image. It's much better to actually go and like upload your own image. But once it's ready, right away, yeah, once this market is ready, you can say, I'm happy with this. You choose the deadline. The deadline automatically is set to the 2nd of January in the morning, which means the end of the first day. You choose the token that you want to push it. And you say, for example, I want to put $500. You set your own fees, how much you want trading fees per market.
Well, can you dive a little deeper into the fee structure and how ExoMarkets makes revenue?
Cool. So we have two types of fees. We have protocol fees and we have creator fees. Creator fees is the fees that you set as a creator. You say I want to charge like 0.18, for example, on every single trade buy or sell. And protocol fee is a fixed fee, but for now it's completely sponsored, so you don't pay anything. So if a creator creates a market with 0% fee, you actually pay zero fees on the markets. And we do have a bunch of markets that have zero fees. Just people are interested to see the opinion of others. They don't want to charge any fees. QuickSwap, I think, is one of them. They did create the first market with no fees. Yeah, because they want to see what people think about their TVL as an example, right? But if you do create fees, if you do put fees, you end up having a really nice side income from your prediction market, especially if your prediction market is interesting. People want to bet
How's
on.
that stuff getting taxed? Like, is that capital gains? Is that income?
I would say, yeah, that most probably is income. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, we don't talk about taxes here. But yeah, basically, yeah, you can have your own market and generating fees for you. Each market by itself is actually an NFT by itself. So let's say you have a market that lasts for so long and it's generating enough revenue, you could technically sell that market, right? We
Mm.
don't have a marketplace for the markets that you can buy and sell markets, but it is doable. You can say, okay, I own this market. I want to sell it for $1,000. It's generating $200 for me per month. And it's going to last for like 10 more months. So
I can't wait for the 2029 Goldman Junior Analyst class to start doing like DCF models on prediction markets, and people like sell them to funds who are merging these things and buying them up.
yeah, there you could go very deep. DCF and chill, basically. Yeah, there's actually like also some really interesting platforms that are building DeFi tools on top of Polymarket, right? So you can borrow against your position, you can go perks with your position. And there's a lot of things that are being built. Like, this is just the beginning of prediction markets.
Yeah.
So 2025, it was an amazing year for prediction markets. Everybody heard about it finally. Like, finally my parents understand what I do for a living. They're like, we heard about prediction markets. Uh, 2026, I think it will be even a greater year for prediction markets. It will be at some point the news. It will be the way for you to read the news. You could come on ExoMarket, hopefully on CrowdFeed, and check what people are talking about and what are the chances of something happening. Like, okay, Democratic presidential nominee, I see the chances are like 62% for, let's see who. Okay, so Gavin is now leading. Gavin Newsom leading the chart here. Yeah, so this is one way for me to read the news. I'm like, all right, everybody more or less they have a similar chance, and they're not doing so well. But yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of people in my generation by now get more news feed from memes and like the people discussing stuff, sometimes with more, sometimes with less conviction than through actual news channels.
100%.
Like
I totally agree. So just
my
wait for it
Instagram
to
feed,
flip to
it's
prediction markets.
all cluttered with the posts from Polymarket there as well. Like they are probably among the like top 3 news related things I see day to day.
Totally agree. Polymarket is doing a great job on this as well, to be honest. Like Polymarket is now being used as a tool to see the chances of something happening, basically, right? And so Polymarket have a lot of users. I said it last time in an interview with the blog that they do have a lot of users, but it's a really small subset of people that are trading on Polymarket. The majority of people are using it as a way to read into things, right? To see the chances of something happening. And that's basically the news. And that's how I see in the future, potentially even news outlets that will be having like a small trading box under every article, right? Like, okay, this is our article. What do you think? Put your money there. And they're just basically integrating prediction market.
What are your typical users like? Is it still mostly crypto natives, or is there already a strong bias towards markets that have absolutely nothing to do with crypto and that attracts a completely different crowd?
I would say our typical user at EXO is kind of 2.5. So people who do have some crypto assets, but they're not really, I wouldn't say like native crypto users, like DeFi users. We also see it from the way they suffer sometimes with deposits. So this is on us. We need to fix deposits. For now, you can only deposit with USDC from any EVM chain, but we see more people asking for credit card deposits, Google Pay, Apple Pay. We're looking now, we're talking to different partners trying to enable this because, yeah, this is the future, right? Like people don't want to care about the blockchain. They don't want to care about what is there in the back end. I want to come to XO Market. I want to put some money and I want to win. And that's the user journey that they want to have. So the fastest and the best onboarding is what we need to do with them.
Mm. Talking of the technical infrastructure and backend, I think I remember that you guys are using Celestia. What makes Celestia a good fit, and why did you opt for Celestia over building on another EVM L2 or use your own chain? Or yeah.
So we do use our own chain, and Celestia is our DA layer. So we use, the product called Evolve from Binary Builders. and it's an EVM chain. Celestia is our DA layer. So Celestia gives us this opportunity to have the security and the throughput of a really advanced DA layer. And we get the advantages of having our custom chain that's made for the app, right? That's why it's called an app chain. So we are not a general purpose chain. We don't tell people come and build on XO chain. We don't want that, right? The whole idea is how do we want to have a great user experience on XO without like with hiding the whole kind of blockchain part. So if you, for example, I can show you here. If I want to trade on this market, I want to put like now $5 on Gavin. I say buy Gavin. I click confirm. I don't have to sign up MetaMask transaction. I don't have to do anything. It's just because we do sponsor transactions, we bundle them. So you have like kind of a full Web2 experience without having to go through the hassle of Web3. So how can you do that? You have to have your own chain. You control gas fees, you control MEV, you prevent MEV, basically, and people have a great experience. And the only way to do it currently is by having a sovereign chain and a DA layer to, for the throughput, blob space, and also like security, because you can actually rebuild the whole chain on the DA state. The best DA out there is currently Celestia. I know there are some other DAs like EigenDA, but like Celestia is really way ahead of them when it comes to the tech.
How do you bridge over to your chain on Evolve, and who supplies the USDC? Is there any issuer, or how is it bridged?
Basically, if you have USDC on any chain, on any EVM chain, you can use our deposit module. In the background, it's using basically a combination of two projects. It's using Polymer as a messaging layer, and Lucid is our partner, like the bridging partner. So Polymer basically sends the message between different chains. So let's say you deposit from BNB, sends a message to our chain that somebody deposits, and then Lucid does the transaction basically, and then you have your money within like a couple seconds on XO-Market. So you
there's no
actually don't know that you're bridging even on XO. You're just depositing and withdrawing.
Nice. So kind of like the Polymarket experience.
Exactly. But Polymarket is on Polygon, right? And you can deposit from anywhere as well. Same thing with us. But Polymarket utilizes a lot of off-chain functionalities, right? Like the matching is off-chain, the deposits more or less kind of off-chain. So with us, everything is on-chain. That's like the difference. Cauchy is fully off-chain. That's why I don't like to talk about that.
Would you consider them as your direct competitor, though?
Not really, because I mean, definitely they are a prediction market. We are a prediction market from that perspective. Definitely, yes. But at the same time, we are targeting different customer segments, right? They are after the whales, like 50% of the volume of Polymarket comes from like less than 200 users, 50%, and all the other 150,000, they're doing the other 50%. So they really focus a lot on whales and trading volume. We focus more on getting as many users as possible to post markets and to trade on markets. And usually the trade size on XO is much less than the average trade size. Average trade size currently for us is $108. But I think on Polymarket it's like up to 350. So it's much higher. And yeah.
Before we go deeper into the user and growth metrics, just for this market, let's take that as an example. There's a total volume of 47K, if I read it correctly. So let's say I'm now going in with, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000. So I would create a lot of slippage, right? Could you maybe, on this practical example, explain again how your liquidity works and how people can prevent slippage, how they can add to liquidity, and how the markets.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, when you're trading, as I told you, on an LSLMSR engine, you're basically minting tokens of a specific outcome. So let's say this outcome, John Ossoff. Okay, currently it's at 11%. If I would put like $1,000, I would be minting a lot of John tokens, and then John tokens will be very expensive. So LSLMSR would go and reprice every single outcome based on that specific trade. So if there's not so much liquidity on this market, of course, the percentage will go up, right? So the more liquidity, the less sensitive the market is. So if there's like, let's say $1 million on this, If you throw 10,000, nothing will happen. It will stay the same. So user-generated markets, of course, in average, they have less liquidity than let's say polymarket election markets or something like that, of course. But that's the whole idea of pricing a specific action, right? Like, so if you want to price something, you want to be able to change the odds of something when you take an action. Otherwise, you're not really pricing. You're just opening a door for arbitrage. So, I
Mm.
mean, I can test you. If I would put like $100 on this, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you see the odds will not change that much because there's more liquidity on this market. So it's only going to be shifted by 0.56. But if I would put $1,000, they will be shifted by 5%.
Mm.
So, and I can also control my slippage here. I can say I only want to do slippage like 0.5%. So if somebody's trading meanwhile at the same time, I'm guaranteed to get that price, which is 0.29 per share. So yeah, that's how it works. The more liquidity, the less impact you can create on a specific market. Now, this market, because it has more liquidity, the impact is not that much. But if you go on a really new market that was just created, for example, let's see. So this market that was just created, Manchester United versus Wolverhampton. I see there's only 699, so I'm assuming this doesn't have so much liquidity. So if I would go now on draw as an example and put like $1,000, then I would be pushing the price by 63%. So I'm gonna be shooting it to 100%.
Kind of works like a Uni V2 AMM in the background, where basically like a 0% chance is zero and a 100% chance is infinite, like infinite odds. But the quantity of the shares that the other people hold does not change if you push down the price of
No,
their holdings.
the quantity of what people hold of course, it doesn't change. And then when the market resolve, every share will go to $1. So LSLMSR reprices every outcome to make sure that every single share will go to minimum $1. So if I'm buying, like, in this case, I will be buying 1,144 shares, I'm guaranteed to win. The minimum is $1,144.
Mm.
That's the minimum I could win from $1,000, as an example. But if I would put like, I don't know, $100, you would see that my percentage of winning will be higher. So here I'm guaranteed to win minimum $217 because I'm trading with a less size of the market. So yeah, LSLMSR will reprice this outcome to make sure that minimum I get $217.2. And every other outcome will also change the pricing.
Have there been so far any successful attempts to game the system, or like are there any weaknesses in the model that you're free to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there is some weaknesses. Basically, when you have a low liquidity market that's starting with like $500, right? For user generated market, that's really a lot. But let's say if you want to compare it to a normal market, you could technically go as early as possible to get the cheapest price and wait for somebody else to go and bet on the same side and then resell your share.
Mm.
That's like normal behavior of prediction market. For some reason, people call it sniping. I don't call it sniping because if you wait until resolution, you're guaranteed to get that much money that you were promised. But if you want to buy and sell because you want to trade rather than wait for resolution, you could be losing money in that case. So let's say now I want to buy draw, I buy draw, and then somebody else goes and buy wolves, then my draw shares are now worth less because now wolves is more expensive. So I can no longer sell it without losing until resolution, and it actually ends to being a draw.
Mm.
That's one case that happens sometimes. But again, that's how prediction markets work. The more people bet on some side, the others get cheaper, and it is how it is. So you can be stuck until the market resolve, which in this case is not so bad because it's in 4 hours we're closed.
Since you've already hinted on user metrics, growth, and adoption a bit, how many people have signed up so far? How can people sign up? And like, what are your growth metrics looking like in 2025?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, we're very happy with how we're growing. I usually use this Dune dashboard to see how we're doing, basically. Yeah, we have around 23,000 users. volume, as you can see, the trend is going up. I think on some days we actually hit 1 million. Yeah, 1,100,000 in one day, 1,040,000, 1,049,000 yesterday. Today we are on track to maybe hit more than 1 million because that's just this morning. So it updates every 6 hours. So we already have 870,000 trading volume. So quite happy with how we're growing at XO Market. We're growing in a healthy way, nothing explosive. CZ didn't tweet about us yet. So once something like this happens, I'm expecting metrics to go up like insane.
Are there any specific markets or any specific events that have really led to a huge push in adoption and user growth?
Yeah, there were some couple markets that got a lot of traction. I think one of the markets that we had was about Mr. Beast. If one of his videos will reach some specific views or something, and that market somehow got a lot of traction. A lot of people came and started trading on that market. I think we got a lot of people from Reddit because somebody posted on Reddit about it. And yeah, suddenly we had a lot of new users coming and betting on that market. We do have like every now and then some sort of a market that comes and get traction and new users come just to bet on that single market. Some of them, they would literally not look at the whole XO market. They would just go put $100, forget about it, and come back when the market is over and cash out. So yeah, we do have some of these events. We do once also like Kaito, one of the co-founder or leadership team tweeted about us because we were trending on their leaderboard. We didn't know that they had a leaderboard for prediction markets, or we were like the second highest after Polymarket. So that day we also got a lot of users. So every time somebody well-known and smart writes about us or creates a market, we do get a bunch of new users. So yeah, our job is just to make sure that interesting and smart people keep talking about us, so we can keep getting more and more people.
Are there any points programs going on? I think I read something about that in your docs.
Definitely, we do have points. However, we do like also very strict metrics on to prevent farming points. So unlike some competitors where they just open it up, and that's why they have millions of volume on a daily basis. With us, it's limited. So you can trade on any market and you can get points, but there's a maximum amount of points you can get from a single market. So that allows people to spread basically their interest over several markets. However, honestly, I don't think the points are the leading factor for our users. You can see them on Discord just arguing daily about markets and stuff like this. And rarely we get a question about points. Why didn't I get that much points or something like this? From previous projects, when we built a product, the points was like the main interest for users. With ExoMarkets, is honestly a completely different story. Is the product is the main story, and the points are like nice to have kind of thing, which is really good. Like I think prediction markets, they have a high like product market fit. It's just people want them, people like them, people enjoy using them.
I do think that the points aspect is still a significant one. Also, if you look at polymarket usage, but somewhat similar to perps in 2025 or like late 2024. I mean, Hyperliquid has proven to have a very sticky user base, even though the airdrop expectations now are much less clear than they have been around a year ago. So I do think that there is a pretty good product market fit. But like, have you used points and the design of your points program to incentivize any specific user behaviors or to kind of deter others?
Yeah, we basically incentivize buying outcomes. So if you buy an outcome, you can get an amount of points to a certain limit. Selling doesn't give you points. So we want people to buy the outcome and wait for a resolution. Most people actually trade, they buy and sell because they want to make this little bit amount of money every time the price changes. So, but I just want to comment on the Hyperliquid part. Hyperliquid has a huge PMF. I actually missed their airdrop. I had so many points, but they had like only 2 weeks window to claim it, and I completely missed that window. I think I had millions of dollars of volume on
Man, that
Hyperliquid.
must have been the biggest fumble.
Yeah, it is a fumble, I have to say. But at the same time, I never thought about the points while using Hyperliquid. It was just a good product. Like it was good perps. Like it works, it's on chain, no KYC, it just works. So Polymarket kind of the same. Like, I mean, I use Polymarket a lot. I never got any points from Polymarket, right? We don't even know if they will have an airdrop or not,
Mm.
or they will have a token or not. There was like a lot of rumors. We even have a market about Polymarket having a token. But yeah, so you see, that's the difference between, let's say, a layer two that newly launched or a layer one, whatever, and they say bridge to our layer two and get points per second based on your liquidity. That's like the most boring product in in crypto. You basically click bridge, blah, 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 you start earning points. Okay, now what? Restaking protocol, get points by, okay, I get, then the product is the incentive mechanism, right? That's the product. But when you have a product that people actually can use and enjoy, like a social app or whatever, then the points can become secondary if the product is interesting enough. You remember Friend.tech?
Yes, I do, vaguely.
Yeah, Friend.tech, they launched this thing where you can buy shares of people, whatnot. You had points, but it was such a fun idea. It was a fad, like it went down very quickly. But when it was up, like people were crazy. Like I remember like the app crashing several times and whatnot because too many people are using it. They had also points, and the airdrop was extremely disappointing to everybody.
Mm.
But still, the maximum usage was was from the moment they launched this idea that you can connect your X, people can buy your share, and they sell it when other people buy it and whatnot. And then it died way before the airdrop. So incentive mechanisms have to be used carefully and embed carefully within your system to encourage a certain positive behavior, but it doesn't mean that it should be the center of your product.
Prediction markets have probably been like one of the top three leading narratives of this year. So, what is your outlook for 2026? For you can talk about the industry as a whole, the prediction market sector as a whole, but also specifically for XO in terms of any types of markets you would like to see, you'd like to dominate, user metrics, whatever you'd like to go into.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I see the hype of prediction market slowing down, basically. So there was a massive hype mid-April. We were lucky we were in the middle of it. We captured a lot of attention. Now I see the hype is dying down. And the reason is you have hundreds of prediction markets now. Like everybody's building a prediction market. Every time I go to a KOL page, I say, I'm also building a prediction market. Like, come on, man, chill. So the sheer amount of prediction market will dilute the attention a little bit. I would say in 2026, 80% of prediction markets will die, maybe 90% of them, and then you will have few winners. I really hope XO market is one of the winners and that we are alive and thriving as of now. But yeah, that's how I see it. Now, the usage of prediction market will go up regardless. So I think more and more people are learning about prediction markets, the opportunities that prediction markets bring, similar to like DeFi summer, right? DeFi started off with like some power users, and then in DeFi summer, almost everybody was like, staking and earning money and doing something with DeFi. So same thing. I think we now started to surpass the power users. We have now casual users using prediction markets. 2026 will get even more. So the successful ones will continue being successful, but a lot of them will die
Mm.
because they just rush because of the hype, right? Similar to any kind of hype that happens. Whenever there's something, you see hundreds of protocols. Like, how many restaking protocols do you know, Max? Be honest.
I mean, as the basic layer, it's eigenlayer. I think symbiotic and Kerak. Even though I don't know if Kerak is even around anymore. Eigenlayer has kind of
Uh,
rebranded to EigenCloud, and then you have all the kind of restaking LST providers. I mean, EtherFi, I think that's kind of like the most successful pivot of this year. But all the other ones, Kelp, Renzo, there have probably been a couple of more that I've forgotten about where I maybe still have some like points sitting wherever
I have
because
so many points
PGE
on
never
restaking
happened.
protocols. Yeah, there is. Last time I checked, there's more than 65 restaking protocols, and 90% of them are well funded from VCs and whatnot. The ones that anybody can remember are five. Maximum seven if they're like adhesion. Nobody knows the rest, right? They all went up and died right away because there was a massive hype about restaking that started by Eigen. Same thing with prediction
Mm.
markets.
Would you say that with XO you have already established a moat and a competitive edge, or are you still in the process of building that out?
I like to believe that we are still in the process. Other people keep telling us, like, yeah, everybody knows about XO market and it's like an established player. If you talk about prediction markets, you have to mention XO because it's the only user generated market that actually works. We have a lot of competitors who do user generated markets, but yeah, you go on their markets, they have like $5 of volume, $10. Uh, Thousands of markets, all with like $1, $2.
Mm.
So we don't consider them a competitor. If you
Do
want to
you
look at user generated, we are the only one that actually live.
What's the take on the on-chain component of prediction markets going into 2026? Do you think that there will be a stronger build out of an on-chain mode, or will the lines between a Kalshi and a poly market and an XO continue to blur?
Everything will come on chain. That's how I see it. Like I'm very confident. Even Kalshi, you will not be able to expand like globally without being fully on chain. And also, like we're talking about proofs, not only about the settling and the matching engine, but also talking about having proofs on chain. Like I want to understand why this market resolved this way, who resolved it, and what is the proof, what is the data they use to resolve this market. And we are now building that as well. So you will be able to see a full history from the moment the market is paused until it's resolved. How did AI come up with this? What are the sources that were used? And how many AIs participated in that? For now, we have like 5 AIs, right? We're
Mm.
taking like, 3 out of 5. But you can add as many models as you want. And only if there's like, a dispute after all of this, then it goes to human people. And then human have to prove as well how they resolve that specific market. So fairness is a very important part of prediction markets. And this will also go on chain. Now, order books, if I see it very soon that somebody will follow up the hyperliquid model. Like, we are also doing that. We have everything on chain. Hyperliquid succeeded because they even have the on chain matching compared to Polymarket, for example. They have still off chain matching, which every now and then you hear some people complaining about it. But ultimately, if you want to skip KYC and you want to skip all the kind of regulation part, you have to be fully decentralized, fully on chain, and that's where we are currently.
Have you seen any market that has breached the lines of like being not safe for work, or that had the potential to turn into the likes of an assassination market or whatnot? I mean, I remember I like gave a few interviews to people from my university about prediction markets probably 2 years or 2.5 years ago, where there was still a lot more fear rising because back then poly market was just on the brink of becoming relevant. And one of the concerns that people had were that would be the extreme conclusion of utilizing the permissionlessness of like on-chain trading markets. Well, it could very quickly spiral out into stuff like assassination markets or like really dark stuff. So have you seen anything like that, and how are you moderating it?
Yeah, we do see a lot of illegal markets, but they're again automatically rejected by Modra. Luckily, AI suffered the same problem, right? Like how OpenAI in the beginning, you can ask it like how to make a bomb, and it would tell
Mm.
you how to make a bomb, right? And then they kept reworking the model to prevent any kind of illegal topic discussion as much as possible. The same thing, since we inherit this security from the LLMs. So we have the same thing. When a market is illegal, meaning an assassination market or about the death of somebody, or yeah, like there's more illegal stuff that could pop up about prediction markets, or something is manipulatable. Like for example, if Max tells me I'm creating a market if I will jump from the bed now, right?
Mm.
Other will reject it because you control the outcome to the full extent and it's very easily manipulatable. So these kind of markets automatically get rejected. If it's a fully decentralized project, like we are not fully decentralized, we are open. So anybody can create a market, but there is an oracle that will look into your market. If it's a fully decentralized, yeah, you will see a lot of these kind of markets. If you be on the dark web or something, people want to bet on this. But then if it's like that, do you actually trust the resolver? Can you trust who will resolve that market?
Do you
So
think
yeah,
it will be possible in 2026 to spin up markets that are about results that cannot really be resolved by or settled by a typical oracle because it is not really news relevant. For example, if I'm hosting a poker dinner at my apartment and I, in addition to just playing poker, I also want to let people bet on who is going to win the poker
Exactly.
game in the end. So like how would that be settled and how would that be rectified?
Give me just a couple weeks and you can do it on XO already. So we have something called private markets. Private markets are markets that cannot be resolved by XO Oracle. They are resolved by the market creator themselves. So there has to be like some trust element.
Mm.
So we do show a warning that this market will be resolved by the market creator. Let's say you and your friends, if you want to make it, then you can make it. They trust you to resolve the market honestly, and you can say who are the wallets that will resolve the market. So it's like 3 out of 5, for example, like as a multi-sig. Same thing if you want to expand it a bit on Twitter, for example. So Max is a known character. People know him from the Odyssey podcast, and he creates a market. And there's a huge risk on your reputation if you don't resolve the market honestly, right? So that's how we call them like basically private markets. We need a better name than private markets, but for now we call them private markets. And it just means the resolver is the market creator or a subset of the wallets that the market creator set in the beginning. And people will be able to see, okay, the resolver is this kind of Twitter account, this kind of Twitter account, this kind of Twitter account. I agree that these guys are honest, then I trade. Otherwise, you should not trade on that market.
But if I understand it correctly, the resolution process has to be done entirely manually. You cannot consult the AI agents that
No,
you would typically use with XO.
no, because there's no way for us to check. Like you can maybe upload a video or something like that, but that just goes a bit too much, too far from where the tech stands now. We thought about it. Like we thought, can AI help resolve private markets? It's just going to be very hectic.
Hmm.
So we thought like it's much easier and simpler to let the market creator resolve the market as long as there's some trust element between the
Do you
market.
think there's going to be a middle path category going forward? Like one example, during some dinner parties with friends, we often have discussion about like, I don't know, may it be did some historical event happen or like who was found guilty of this or that or like is this or that food bad and like these are things that you could kind of
Okay.
settle with
Maybe
AI. For
I
example, like
use this for two
aggregate
things.
all studies telling you whether like steak is bad or steak is good for you. And then all the vegans would have to realize, oh, steak is not actually bad. But if I, as one of the market participants, would also have to settle it, there would obviously be an inherent bias. And you could use AI to kind of aggregate the current state of knowledge about some of these topics.
I love that you brought this up because we're piloting next week and we're actually looking for debaters. I would love if you, Max, are willing to be one of the debaters.
Of course, more than happy to.
All right. So we have this idea of a debate market where we stream the debate live and we have the market in the background. And it's about a specific topic. We already built the infra for it. Like we have the tech ready for it. So basically, we go on a tool like usually we planned it to do it on Google Meet because there's this Gemini notes. So you and the other opposing party, and you have a host. The host will be us, ExoMarket, and we have like two debaters, and there will be a topic, and everybody has like you can reply to each other, similar to how presidential election debates happen. And after that, we have three judges. We have Grok, we have OpenAI, and we have Perplexity. Each one of them will give its vote about who won the debate based on a prompt that we will publish on X. So you will see that the prompt is very fair. It's about accuracy, it's about like the relevance, and it's about the truth of some sources that you mentioned. So yeah, we run the script by these three judges and they give the result, and the market will resolve based on the majority of the judges.
I
If you
love
are
it.
willing to do it, I would love to pilot it with you. We just need
Of
somebody who
course.
has an opposing view of you about almost anything.
I'm sure we'll find somebody.
Let's do it. I would love to pilot it with you, Max.
Very cool. Yeah, we're about to hit the hour. It was amazing having you on. I am very confident that XO Markets will play a role repeatedly and again in some episodes in the future where we will spin up our either own private markets or spin up a public market on some market theses that are either crypto related, macro related, or whatever else we are
I
talking
would love
about
that.
on one of our roundtables. So where can people find you? Where can people try out XO Markets? How they can they try out V Beta?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Max. Yeah, please check us out. We are XO.market. That's our domain. It's very simple. And from there, you can find our Twitter, which is at XO dot written as dot market. Check us out. We will make an invite code with Odyssey. So you can just type XO dash Odyssey and you will be able to join XO Market Beta. We will have it like as limited, only maybe 20 users. So first come, first serve. For anybody who's listening or watching this, that would be awesome if you guys join us and create some markets and trade on other people's markets and join our Discord for some good discussions. Looking forward to all the markets Max will create on XO and looking forward to the debate markets. This would be awesome. This would be awesome.
It absolutely will. It was great having you on. Great episode. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, thanks for coming on. And we'll make sure to put all the links in the podcast description.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Max, for having me. Have a great day, man. See you
You
soon.
too.